Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the first FRC briefing of the 2016 season. If we haven't met yet, my name is Kevin Ross, and I'm the Pacific Northwest District Chair. And joining us on the line tonight are Adrian Rimey, the FRC Logistics Manager, Debbie Kerr, who's the Senior Mentor from Oregon. We also have Cindy LeBeau, who's the Regional Director from Oregon, and Aaron McCallum, who is the President of Washington First Robotics. And so I wanted to welcome all of you and thank you so much for taking the time out to learn a little bit more about the upcoming season. There are a few fairly major changes that we needed to make sure everybody was aware of. So we are recording this. If somebody on your team, if you feel somebody on your team needs to see this, we will put this up on the web probably later tonight or early tomorrow morning. The agenda for tonight, we want to go over the upcoming calendar of workshops and events for the next 2 months so that you're aware of what's going on. I want to go over the calendar of important deadlines that we all need to keep in mind. There are some changes to how registration works this year, and I think that they're good changes, but they're fairly substantial changes. So we need to explain that to you. We're going to talk about the program cost, and how payments and such are going to be made. We're going to talk about grants, and then at the end I'll tell you about some shifting responsibilities here at the home office. So this is actually a surprisingly large amount of material to go through, so I will go relatively quickly. Your microphone has been muted by default. There are too many people on here for us to allow everybody to turn their microphone on. So if you have any questions, there's a question box. Adrian is manning the question box and will answer that if she can. Otherwise, we'll give you a live rundown of what the answer is. And it may turn out that we don't fully understand your question, in which case we'll unmute your microphone and we'll yak at you. So standard stuff. Most of you have seen our presentations before. So let's get started and talk about the upcoming calendar of workshops and events. There's actually a lot of stuff going on. The first one is a week from this Saturday here in Kent, we have our leadership workshop. This is an opportunity for a small group from your team, maybe 3 students and a couple of mentors to show up and talk about leadership issues. The live version of it will be at the Washington First Robotics Fieldhouse, and we are also going to be web streaming it. And I apologize, I neglected to put the location for the web stream on here. And Debbie is going to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Clackamas. Actually, Debbie, I'm going to let you tell us where is the remote location in Oregon.
So, Kevin, unfortunately, we just have one remote location in Oregon, and it's going to be in Klamath Falls.
See, Klamath and Clackamas sounded so familiar, so I knew I got it wrong. So Klamath Falls, where you normally have a kickoff, is where we're going to have a group of teams get together and sort of go through the exercises that we have worked out, and also we'll be live streaming the event from up here. We're also looking, if somebody would like to set up a live stream and a sort of a group collection in Eastern Washington or in Corvallis or anywhere else, if you would like to take that on, feel free to contact me, and we will give you the details on how to watch the live stream, and we'll be able to send you some of the exercises ahead of time so that you know what to expect. Okay, so the workshop, if you're looking for details about coming to the workshop here at the Fieldhouse, if you go to our website, and I'm going to just pull that up here on the screen real quick. If you go to firstwa.org and you look on our calendar, you will find it right here, Leadership Camp, and this has got this has the details about when it is. Actually, Adrian's going to update the calendar here in a couple of days with more stuff. So anyway, that's where you can find the details and also a registration form to let us know that you're coming. All right. So there is the leadership workshop. It'll be a good event. It'll be run from about 9 to 4:30, I think is what the schedule shows. The following weekend, there's a business roundtable workshop in Portland. This is led by Shockwave, Team 488. And I'm gonna bet, is Willie here? Nope, no Willie. Debbie actually knows a little bit more about the details. Hey, Debbie, the business roundtable workshop, is it at that construction company again?
So it's Hoffman Construction in the Key Tower in downtown Portland.
And I believe
from 9:30 to 12:30.
Okay, and I believe you've sent some email to the Oregon teams, is that correct?
I did, and the Southwest Washington teams.
Thank you so much for that. That'll be a good event. It's been done before. They do a really great job, and thank you to Shockwave for doing that. On the 10th of October, which is a Saturday, Girls Generation in Portland is going to be hosted by the Flaming Chickens, Dale Yoakum and his team. This is an enormously successful event over the years. Girls only get to drive the robots. It's really intended to try and reach out to more girls in your school and get them involved. So it's a great event. And I'm going to pick on Dale. I think I saw his name. Nope, Dale didn't make it either. Debbie, do you know if there are spots still available at that event?
I do not know.
Okay. So if you're interested and would like to go to Girls Generation in the Portland area, contact Dale Yoakum at 1541, and or can I also refer them to you, Debbie?
Sorry, I'm still muted. Yes.
Okay, great. And if you don't know how to get a hold of Dale, Debbie will hook you up. On the 17th, we've got Girls Generation in the Seattle-Tacoma area. Specifically, it's actually at Tahoma High School in I guess it's in Covington or Ravensdale, wherever it is. It's Tahoma High School is just outside of sort of the Kent area, or near anyway. So if we think that event actually is full, and so if you can, if you'd like to attend, it's on Saturday the 17th, and again, it's the same sort of format that they're doing down in Portland. It's a great event. On the 24th is First Fair. That's being held by Gladstone Robotics in Gladstone, Oregon, and it's a full day of workshops, and I think it's been running for a number of years with great success, and we're really excited to see it come back again this year. So thank you so much to Gladstone for that. On the 7th of November, there's a mentor roundtable, also led by Shockwave. And Debbie, is that also at Hoffman Construction?
It is not. It's at a restaurant in Portland.
It's at a restaurant in Portland. So we will, Debbie knows the details. So Debbie Kerr is our senior mentor from Oregon, and she can fill you in on that.
And I sent that out. I sent that out to our teams last week. So
okay.
They have the address and the name of the restaurant and such.
Perfect. Also on the 7th, we're going to have our first of our FRC workshops in the Seattle area. SOTA is going to do one in the Tacoma area. And again, it's an opportunity for you to come and learn about all sorts of various topics. We don't have a schedule for it quite yet, but we will fairly soon, and we'll be posting that on the Washington First Robotics website. We are currently planning, but don't have firm details on 2 other workshops. One of them is going to be at Aviation High School in Seattle, and the Bearbots up in Everett are also looking into organizing one. And so we don't have full details or full confirmation on that, but just wanted to let the sort of Seattle area teams or teams from anywhere across the district that if you would like to tune in and see some of these workshops, we're holding several of them so that they're not as big and monolithic. These will all be like 2 to 3 or 100 people events rather than those big ones that we used to do. I think the biggest one we did was Bonnie Lake. We had 1,200 people at it. It was just too big. So thank you to all of these teams for helping out with that. Okay, that is those are sort of the events that we know about. If you are doing other things, other training things that you'd like to let the FRC community know about, please go ahead and contact Adrienne Rimey, and you'll see her address here again in a little while. Adrienne will be able to help put stuff on the calendar. All right, now, so those are the workshops, and here are the calendar of dates and deadlines. Registration for FRC opens on 9/24/15, which is and it opens at 9 a.m. Now we've changed how this works. So the good news is you don't have to do anything at 9 a.m. and we'll tell you about that here in just a few minutes. The other there are a couple of other important dates on here. Washington First Robotics is going to have a grant system available, and it'll be opening on 9/28/15, and you'll find that every team in the district is going to need to fill out a grant application with us. And I'm going to explain more about that particular detail later as well. I just wanted to get all of the key dates on one slide here. I'll talk about both of those things a little bit later. Your second event registration opens on October 8th, and that's on the usfirst.org website. If you are a Washington State public school team, keep in mind that the OSPI I-grant, that's the grant that gets you lots of money from the state, is due on October 15th. And so you want to be done by October 13th, which I think is a Tuesday, because there is one step that has to happen from your building administration. So please plan on getting that in there on the 13th and then pester somebody on the 14th to get it approved. Every one of our public school teams needs to apply for that grant, please. That's where we need to use all that money up. You will more than likely get a grant. We'll have to see how many people actually end up applying. But it's important that we have the ability to use up that grant in its entirety. And then on the 12th of November, unrestricted registration on US First. That means that you will be able to register for for regional events if you want to go to one, or third plays and those sorts of things. And then on 11/13, our Washington First Robotics grant system closes. Andrew Sears has asked a good question that I'm sure some of the Oregon teams are wondering. Is the OSPI grant only available to Washington teams? Yes, it is a Washington team. It's a Washington State Legislature grant. It turns out that Oregon has the same grant, but you guys have already awarded it, and I'll get to that a little bit later. So yes, OSPI is Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction. That's Washington State only. All right. Hopefully that made sense. So there are the key deadlines. And again, these slides will get posted online for you a little bit later tonight. Just a quick status update on our FRC district. It looks like we'll be gaining 8 new teams this year. So that we're pretty excited about that. There's either 3 or 4 in Oregon, and we believe that we have 6 or 7 up here in Washington State. So yay teams. We are going to have 9 district events. Last year we did 10. This year we need to do 9. 9 events gives us capacity for 162 teams, and so that's what we're going to go with this year. The district championship will be back at Portland at Veterans Memorial Stadium, and so that was always a great event. We do want to warn all of our existing teams that we are going to be at near maximum capacity for all of our events this year. And so you need to keep that in mind and make sure that you pay attention to the registrations they're going to fill up quick. All right. In general, last year we ran 32 team events. This year we are going to do 36 team events. And so we will make some adjustments. There will be a couple of venues that are probably going to be maybe 34 teams and a couple that may creep up to the 38 or 39 team range. This is mostly going to be to accommodate special circumstances and new teams if they arrive. So, but on average, we're going with slightly bigger events this year. Hopefully that made sense. Okay. Let's talk then. So that's sort of the status of the district. Here are where the events are going to be. And again, we will this schedule you'll find on the US First website and on the Washington First Robotics website. These are all venues that we've used in the past. I will point out just a couple of things. Week 4 has only one event. We are not going to be at Shorewood this year. I'll repeat that again, Seattle teams. We will not be having an event at Shorewood this year. They were only able to offer it to us on Saturday and Sunday, and it turns out that Sunday on week 4 is Easter. And we're willing to hold events on Easter weekend, but we're not willing to hold events on Easter. Plus, Shorewood is just too small. We just can't fit 36 teams there. So the other thing I will point out for everybody in Oregon is Clackamas Academy of Industrial Science is still the old Oregon City High School. It's the same venue. They have changed their name. So all of these places ought to look mighty familiar if you have done this before. Okay. Some of these are Friday, Saturday, Sunday events. Specifically, Glacier Peak is going to be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event. I believe that Mount Vernon is also is the same way. And Adrian, help me out. Where's the other one? Is it? Do we just have 2 Saturday, Sunday events? Adrian.
Sorry, I muted myself 2 different places. Auburn High School is also Saturday, Sunday.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. So I knew we had 3. So you'll need to take that into account when you go to schedule your teams. Hopefully that made sense to everybody. And again, we will be sending this. The slides will come out, so all of this information we will give to you in hard copy or electronic copy. Okay. Before registration opens, we'd highly recommend that your main and alternate contact go ahead and log into TINS now, and you may or may not have to pass youth protection again. If you've done, in theory, it's good for 2 years, and so most of you should be good from last year, but you also need to do this consent release form. The YPP can take a few days to process, so please don't put this off. If you do have to do the YPP step, it can sometimes take 3 or 4 days. So please go ahead and consider doing that well before the 24th, okay? Also, while you're up there, if you wouldn't mind, check your team's basic info, like the address of your school. Some of us originally put in like our home addresses as the main contact, and there are a few of the schools that aren't really, have moved or have made some changes. So just kind of verify that your basic info is correct. We'd really very much appreciate that, okay? So now let's talk about registration, and there are some really big changes. So if you've wandered off to watch the TV, you might want to come back. Here's the big change. Based on feedback from the past couple of years, we are going to do we have pre-assigned all of the existing teams to their first event. Here's how this works. And Michigan has done this, and it's been very, very successful. We have taken all of the existing teams, and by using your zip code, have found the closest event to your school. And you currently have a reservation already. So, and this hopefully will alleviate the issue of the number of teams who were a little upset about the fact they couldn't get into their local event. So we have remedied that. This is optional, however. So we've reserved you a spot. You may elect to use that reservation, or you may opt out. Okay. So what that means is that on September 24th, you don't have to rush to your computer at 9 a.m. to get the event that's going to be closest to you. You already have been assigned to that event. You do, however, before October 7th, need to go in and elect to use that reservation or opt out of that reservation. Okay, so yay, it hopefully relieves the stress that you don't have to do something exactly at 9 o'clock. So you have a little bit more leisure time to do that. But we do want you to get in there and do that. We will start pestering all the teams who have not either confirmed or done their opt-out. Okay. Now, if you choose to opt out, meaning that, yeah, I know that the event closest to me, but is like, you know, Auburn, but I don't want to compete that week, you may opt out, and then you will be able to register for 2 events on the 8th of October. Okay, so and the process for this, you're going to go to the US First website in TIMS, and there'll be an option there for you to select. When you go to select an event for the year, you will see only 2 options: your home event or the opt-out. On the 8th, they will repopulate that list. You'll be able to register for any event that has space in the Pacific Northwest District. Okay? And here come the questions. I knew they were going to be here. I'm going to summarize all of these because some of you asked basically the same question. How full will Wilson and Oregon City become? Does that mean that folks from Central and Southern Oregon will have to travel to Washington? Actually, I believe many of the events are. Adrian, do you want to take? See, what's the right way to answer that one?
I can take that. So
okay.
Basically, I mean, some teams are going to choose to travel because they like to travel, and some teams choose to stay closer to home. And so you have with the first pass, everybody will be in the event that is geographically closest to them. You will find out which event that is on September 24th when you go to register. After that, before the 8th, everybody will be able to go on the US First website, see how full those events are before they pick their second event, just like you can normally do with a registration. The goal is for teams to not have to travel. I realize some teams will unfortunately need to travel, but we also have a lot of our teams that like to travel. I mean, for example, Flaming Chickens came up to Auburn. Skunk Works went down to Philomath, so hopefully it will balance each other out.
Yep. So yes, it is possible that your team is going to travel this year. Honestly, most teams actually don't mind traveling once. The teams that were the most upset last year were the teams that had to travel twice, and so it's kind of. I wish I had infinite capacity and to be able to make sure that everybody had both of their events very close to them, but it just we just don't have enough team density or capacity to do that. So.
And can I interject one more thing? One question is will we be able to see how many spots are at our local event before 10/8? I know that US First system updates reasonably quickly, but I guess I wouldn't rely on that. By 10/5, if you guys haven't selected to pick your home event or opt out, you're going to be getting emails from me telling you need to make sure to register. You know, if you want to wait a few days to see, that's fine, but I think you do have to make a decision.
Yep. Okay, so this isn't terribly different than it was last year, folks. So you know, it's the capacity is roughly the same as it was last year, and the locations are identical to what they were last year. So yep, there will be a little bit of travel involved for some of us. It always seems to work out in the end. So breathe easy. All right. So I apologize if it sounds like I'm delaying. I'm reading questions. I'm going to let Adrian answer these. Do you see any that are generally, Adrian, anything else on the general list here that we should answer? We got about 20 questions about this topic all of a sudden, so I'm reading through them real quick. I apologize for the delay.
Nope, I think I'm...
Okay, so moving on. So now on 10/8/15, the second event registration opens, and so that is going to be first come first serve, like it has been in FIRST for ever. Okay, so it works just like before. If you opted out of your home event on 10/8, you can register for your first event at that time, and again, it's first come first serve, just like it's always been in the past. And then you will immediately be, and then everybody can select their second event. So your first, if you opted out, your first event will be your first and second event selection will be available. If you did acknowledge your reservation and took the reservation, you'll only be able to register for your second event. Okay, and just like always, when you're registering for first events, you should do a little thought and a little talk with your team and figure out, don't come expecting to get into a specific event. You need to have a prioritized list of, we would really like to go to this event, but if we can't go to that event, you should probably have a second and a third choice. All right? If you absolutely positively can't make any other weekend, you may put yourself on the wait list for an event. We cannot guarantee that you will get in, but we will try and work with you to the best of our ability to get you into the event that you would like to go to. But we say that with a grain of salt. There are spots for 162 teams using 936 team events. We can expect that all of these events to fill fairly quickly. So fair warning, okay? So we definitely recommend that you register on the 8th. Okay. Third plays, always a popular subject. Third plays, they cost $1,000. They do not count for points. There are two kinds of third plays. There's the inter-district play and the inter-district play. Inter-district play means that you play again in the Pacific Northwest District. We're going to be really limited on inter-district plays this year just because we expect our capacity to fill. There's going to be less than 8. There might even be as few as 4 third plays available. So keep that in mind. You do have the option to do an inter-district play, and there are several new districts starting this year, and some of them will probably have some spare capacity. The other districts are in Michigan and the Mid-Atlantic region, New England. There are new ones in South Carolina. I'm drawing a blank on all of them, but there are quite a few new districts starting up. Indiana's got a district. I think Illinois is starting a district. So it is possible to travel. Again, the way this works is that all of the in-district plays are taken care of first, in-district third plays are taken care of second, and then inter-district plays are third. The cool thing about doing an inter-district play is that if you ended up booking one week 1, it does not affect your local plays at all. So it's just a practice round. And so if your kids really want to travel, and it turns out there are a number of the teams in our state that are really itching to go travel, go for it. All right. There is a lot of questions about the Shorewood event. At the moment, we do not expect to start up a 10th event. The 10th event would, for all of our existing venues, or all of the venues that we knew about, that 10th event would have required us to do something on Easter. And so at the moment, we're going to try and hold the line at 9 events, okay? Okay, so that's everything you need to know about third place. I think the next slide is the exciting one. Okay, the participation fee for this year has gone up a little bit, but don't panic. We got you covered. The participation fee for this year is $10,866. If you'll remember last year, it was around, I think it was around $8,800, and we bought that down for you. We're doing the same thing this year, so relax. Don't panic yet. We did do a few. There are a few changes I'm going to talk about here in just a minute. Okay. Washington First Robotics has been fundraising like crazy. Oregon First Robotics has been fundraising like crazy, and so we've raised most of the difference already. So again, if you haven't been in on why it is that we did this, the best way I can put it is we are trying to simplify the message that we give to the donors. And so we are no longer raising money for Washington First Robotics or Oregon First Robotics. We are out raising money for teams. And part of our fundraising is to buy down your participation fee. It makes it much easier for the donors to understand. It makes it much easier for them to be able to visually assign their dollars to shiny happy faces rather than figuring out how much of their money is going to go to shiny happy faces and how much is going to go to printer, toner, and gasoline and volunteer food and all the rest of that stuff. So we have a plan for this. Now the other cool thing is that there's a new grant system in place, and we need everybody to fill this out. And you're going to hear me say this multiple times. There is a grant form that's going to open up on the 28th of this month. And it's a fairly simple form. We need to track both in Washington and Oregon all of the teams so that we need to be able to track for our donors who got what money. And it's a very complex thing to have to deal with. We are using a commercial system to do it. So if you are expecting us to help pay down that $10,866, you must fill out the grant. If you don't fill out the grant, we are going to assume that you've got all the money that you need, and we will send you a bill for $10,866. So this is the easiest fundraising half hour that you're going to do the entire year. So please do that, okay? Let me move on to the next slide. What is changing from last year, aside from the number going up? So we are trying to streamline the entire registration process to make it easier on you, so that you don't have to constantly feel like you're getting nickeled and dimed to death. We're trying to tell you what it is up front, and we're trying to make sure that everybody's planning for it. You have a single payment due for the season, and there are no other participation fees for the district system. So you're going to get both district events, and if you advance, the district championship. Okay. We convinced FIRST to remove the district championship fee, and so we've gotten rid of that. We have taken the responsibility of paying that on your behalf. Okay. World Championships, however, if you go to St. Louis, you will still be responsible for the $5,000 registration fee, but you will only be paying us once. Okay. There is the other big change is all of your payments are going to go through Washington First Robotics. So you won't be sending any money at all to FIRST this year. So if you're starting to work on getting your purchase orders and stuff in line, they're all going to go to Washington First Robotics. Okay. So just so you realize, Washington First Robotics is the nonprofit entity that has the fiduciary responsibility to pay for everything. And so so that's why all the payments go to Washington first, all right? Hopefully that made sense. Okay. Let me move on. I guarantee you that a whole bunch of folks are going to start asking about Boeing grants and stuff. I'm going to walk through all that here in just a sec, okay? So a couple of things first. Oregon State, the ODE, which I think is the Oregon Department of Education, they awarded 30 FRC grants. They do it earlier. They did it last spring, so congratulations to the 30 teams who were awarded those grants. Yay. I know that this is really cool. Please reach out to your legislators and thank them and tell them how much their support of your teams matters. It's important that we do that every year to acknowledge our state legislators and make sure that they realize that the money that they allocated for that's important. The grants for ODE will open up again in May and June and for the following year, okay? And I don't know a whole lot about the Oregon ODE system, but I've been told that the funds should be available in your school's accounting system if you had gotten a grant. So, woohoo, well done, everybody. So, the next part is the Washington State OSPI grants. They're pretty much the same sort of thing. The legislators set aside money. Washington State's grant system closes later. In fact, it is currently still open. We worked really closely with the legislature to increase the funding this year, and we were successful in that. So we want all of our public schools to apply for this grant. The dollar amounts of the OSPI grants have been raised. Now, we want you to realize that even that money is actually going to be part of what you're going to pay in participation fees this year. And we worked that out with the state, and they understand what we're doing. So I don't know the exact number, but if you're probably going to get $2,000 more than you did last year, but you're also going to end up writing a check to Washington First Robotics for $2,000 more. So that it's an offsetting amount, but it is that's how the state legislature worked it out. Okay, so but yay, we did get more money, and we'll be able to help more teams participate this year. So I think that we're pretty excited about that. The grants for OSPI are due on the 15th. Please be done a couple days early. When the building use grant gets filled out, the building's I-grant administrator and or principal have to actually approve it. So if you submit yours on the 15th, it won't get approved. You need to submit it on the 13th and then go pester whoever it is that's in charge. Okay. And then you should get notified by OSPI on or about the 30th of October about how much money you're going to get. All right. So with that, you're all asking outstanding questions, by the way, and I'm hopefully you're asking all the correct questions, and I promise I got slides for them. Let's talk about the WFR grants first. Specifically, this is I want to zoom in on the final end of this sort of little season here. And this page applies to Washington and Oregon teams, so everybody should be listening to this. On November 13th at about 5 o'clock, the Washington First Robotics grant system is going to close. Okay, every one of our teams should have applied on that grant. The reason that we need everybody to apply is this is the system that we're going to use to distribute the money and to track where the money goes. And all of our donors, both in Washington and in Oregon, are expecting us to be able to report to them where the money went. Okay, and it's all going to be run through this system. So please, please, please be sure and do this. You will start hearing from us probably by the end of October if you haven't managed to fill one of these out yet. Okay. It closes on the 13th. On the 20th, we will notify everybody about the status of your grants. Quite honestly, everybody's going to get something. How much is going to? We'll talk about how much here in just a minute. On the 23rd of November, we will send an invoice to your team, and it'll be emailed to the main contact for your team about how much your final bill is going to be. Okay, and then you have until December 8th, and this is a really hard deadline because this is the last day we can tell first that you've paid, because the kits of parts ship on the 9th. So we really, really, really need you to pay by the 8th. All right? We won't be able to get you a kit of parts if you haven't paid up yet. And I'll be talking about the invoices here in just a sec. So I think just a practical matter of concern is you might want to have a purchase order available. I picked the full registration amount. Something, we'll talk about the actual amount here in just a sec, but basically get a purchase order pre-approved or pre-set up so that when the invoice comes in, you can turn it around quicker. And every school has got a little bit different way of doing this, but if you let us know in advance what your PO number is, it saves you doing one extra round trip with your bookkeeper, because you'll submit a bill, they'll generate a purchase order number, and then you have to tell us, and we have to put that on our invoice and then send it back to you. If we can eliminate that step, things will go a lot faster. Okay? How we doing? Hey, we're looking pretty good so far. Okay. Here comes your invoice. So you're going to get an invoice from Washington First Robotics for the balance due on the team participation fee, okay? Our goal is to get this thing down under $5,000. We're telling you $6,800 because there's one unfunded thing, which is the fee that we have to pay US First for the district championship. We believe it's going to go down, but just be prepared. Start fundraising and start thinking that your bill is going to be about $6,800. And we are working really hard. We've got some really great donors stepping up. I firmly believe it's going to be less than that. For everybody, the net bill will be less than that. But if you plan on $6,800, you'll end up with some money left over. Is my hope and my dream. Okay. So now teams, if you have OSPI grants, your bill is going to be higher. We know how much you got, and we know how much the increase was over what you would have gotten in previous years, and that offset will be in your bill. So you actually may write us a bigger check, but the funding for that we secured that funding for you already. It just is going in a rather roundabout way. So hopefully that made some semblance of sense to you. Okay. Now, I think here is what a sample invoice, and we made this up. These are all pretend numbers, so relax. But this is kind of what you're going to end up getting. You're going to end up seeing an invoice from Washington First Robotics, and of course it'll be filled out to your team. It'll have the $10,866, and it will have all of the credits from the individual donors. Okay. And if you're an OSPI team, you're going to end up with, whoops, sorry, I got to go back up one there. You'll end up seeing this line down here about the grant money that was secured by Washington First Robotics. So your bill actually might be more than $5,000 or $6,800. We don't know what the exact number is going to be yet, but we are very cognizant of the fact that we are distributing extra money to you. So keep that in mind. Now, if you are getting national grants from, say, Boeing, or you're getting national grants from, say, NASA, we will know that, and that those credits will end up on your bill as well. So honestly, some teams, their bills are going to actually be zero. Some bills may be a little bit higher, and I wish I could. So every team's number is going to be a little bit different. And it's just going to matter on the credits and how much funding we can get from you. The other thing you need to be aware of is that there is a lot of donor intent expressed. We sometimes get money that's only given to rural teams or inner city teams. We also get grants that are only for teams with Boeing mentors or intellectual venture mentors, the permutations of this are kind of mind-numbing. This is why we needed a computer program to do this. But we are we will take care of you to the best of our ability, okay? Slow down. I need to open another bottle of wine, says Darren G.
Kevin, this is Erin. Can I say a couple things?
Yeah.
So, teams, this is the reason why over the summer Kevin asked for all of you to turn in your budgets, because we have such a enormous diverse community with some FRC teams operating their season on under $10,000 and other teams that operate their season on $100,000. It's not our job to question or second guess what your goals are. Those are your team goals, and those are really special goals to include. But what Cindy and I and our boards are trying to do is really be your advocates as we are out there talking with individuals and private foundations and companies, so that we can secure as much as we can unrestricted dollars. And I can tell you, in the last 6 or 7 months, we've been working really, really hard, and I think the donor community is enormously appreciative of this new business model, and they are very better educated, if that's such a phrase, on understanding that our community is 150, close approaching to 160 FRC teams, and every single team is deserving of financial support to fulfill their goals. So if you haven't turned in your budget, please turn it in, and it's our job to really be your partners side by side in helping raise those dollars so that your students have the most exceptional experience and awesome experience as possible.
Kevin, we actually have a good question. The question is, in the past, teams that were given a Boeing grant were not eligible to earn a NASA grant. Do you know if this is again the case?
This is Erin. That is.
Oh, and Erin.
It is.
Sorry. Okay, so if you are eligible for a Boeing grant, you are not eligible for a NASA grant. Did I state that correctly? Okay.
And again, that's a perfect example of donor intent. U.S. First, nor Washington First or Oregon First set those rules. That is the donor intention.
Kevin, did we lose you?
Yeah, let me try it again. I muted myself.
I think that we might have lost.
Am I unmuted?
Now we can hear you.
Okay, so let me try it again.
Yes.
I was trying to be gracious and mute myself. If you go to Washington First Robotics, resources, team report, here's the form, and it's really not that onerous to fill out. And we just need to know your team demographics, how much fundraising you did last year, your total team expenses, how much was travel, how much was registration fees, and then some basic estimates of the number of teachers, how many hours the teacher put in, the number of male and female mentors, and the total number of mentor hours that got put in. And this is really important information. This is stuff that donors ask us constantly. And the better data that we can give them, and the more comfortable that I can feel when I'm standing there telling them something, or Erin is trying to tell somebody something, the better. And this is really common information they just need to know. So this doesn't take that long. Thank you to the, I think 83 of our 152 teams have already done this. Thank you so much for that. if the other teams would go ahead and fill this out. It really doesn't take that long. And we don't need to know down to the penny.
No.
If you're within $400 or $500, or if you're within $500 on the expenses, that's fine. We just need to be able to express the scale of things. We would, however, very much appreciate a little bit of thought, honest thought into the student count, and especially your number of female students and your basic demographics. This is really important for us. We're trying to do studies that we feel comfortable publishing those numbers. So your thoughtful responses to the team demographics are actually critical for us to be able to tell our story. All right, I think I belabored that to death. Thank you for that. I will go back one more slide. So we are in constant communication with FIRST. If you end up getting national grants, those will also show up on here. And so if you get a national grant and an OSPI grant and some other stuff, your bill is going to be close to zero. All right. People are asking, this is the same form you may have filled out this summer. If you've already filled it out this summer, thank you so much. You do not need to fill it out again. If you did not fill it out, or if you're unsure, go ahead and fill it in again, and we will use the most recent data that you enter into that field, and use that. And again, this refers to your team numbers for the 2015 season, not for this year. Okay. All right. All right. Some other grants and resources available. Of course, we've already talked about OSPI. Boeing grants are still open, and I know my dear friend Darren G is here. Darren, I'm unmuting you. Hi, Darren.
Hello.
I heard you.
Yeah, you hear?
Yeah.
Hear me now?
Say it a little louder, but you're a little bit quiet. When does the grant for Boeing close?
That will close on the 5th of October, 12 a.m. Central Time. So my suggestion to everybody is to turn everything in by the end of September.
Okay, and this is for teams that have Boeing employees or Boeing retirees on them, is that correct?
That is correct. So if you have a retiree on your team, they need to email me and I will get them the information so that they get the grant applied for.
Yep. And if you folks are interested in finding out the list, if you go to our website again, go under First Robotics Competition FRC grants. There's details about OSPI. There's details about Boeing, including Darren G. That's you all know Darren. Even if you don't know his name, he's one of our MCs. You can email Darren if there are questions about how to do things. And there's also a link to the internal Boeing website.
Yeah, if you have internet, if you work at Boeing. Yep.
Somebody has asked a very good question about the grant thing, so I'm going to back up one. Now, it is entirely possible that you may end up with a negative number on your bill, which would be really what we all want to see. But it is entirely possible. If you end up with a negative bill, we will be sending you a check. That actually happened last year, so it is not unheard of. So we are as honest as we can possibly be with the dollars. And if a whole bunch of donors have given your team explicitly money, you will actually get money back from us. So not only did you get a zero bill, but you got plus money. Okay. Other grants that were available are NASA. Now the NASA grants are available for usually for rookie and second year teams. So if you are a rookie team or are trying to help somebody get started, by all means apply for it. If you're a third or fourth year team and you're having some funding issues, I would apply for it anyway, because in the past, surprisingly enough, they ended up with some extra money. And in fact, actually, I think an 8-year-old team, I think it was like a year or two ago, ended up getting a NASA grant. So if you guys are strapped for cash and need some help, why not? Monsanto also has some grants available for first teams for both, I think all FLL, FTC, and FRC, I believe. I'll let you go look and find out. I don't know all the details. And so we would love to have you check that out and see if that grant would apply to you. Okay.
Kevin, real quick, this is Erin. So Monsanto actually closed on the 15th of September, but this is a perfect example and why it's so exciting that this network of all the teams are coming together, because the Monsanto grant actually came to us through another team, and each and every one of you and your team members have contacts and relationships that we may or may not know, and this is how we can support one another. There may be an opportunity for one team to get support from a company, but another team, simply because they have another facility in a different community, could also support. So if any of you have connections with those larger companies, please let Cindy and I know so we can disseminate it to our larger community.
Okay, so you will find, I showed you that webpage on our website, that grants FRC program or programs FRC competition grants. You will be able to find. That's probably where we're going to put the grant application that you'll need to fill in. We'll be sending, once that goes live, we'll send out an email to the main contact of every team. Hey, guess what? We're down to the last slide. Before I do that, any other big questions? I'm just checking the questions. These all look like they got answered. Okay, so let's talk about the shift in responsibilities. So I am going to be starting to shift what I do here at Washington First Robotics and start doing some special projects and kind of doing more wider program things. So I'm going to start phasing myself out of the day-to-day operations. And so Adrienne Rimey, she is going to be taking over a lot of the sort of mechanical stuff that I normally do. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to start doing things at a slightly different level. And so I just wanted to let you all know that if especially starting a week from Sunday, I'm going to be gone for a couple of weeks and I won't have internet access. Yes, I'm going to Italy. So if you're trying to get a hold of somebody to get questions answered, you'll probably get an auto reply and you can talk to Adrienne directly. Anyway, it's a relatively well-known secret that I'm planning on being completely out of the operations department in 18 months anyway. But it turns out that we have some things that need to get done before then. So Adrienne and Susan and the rest of the staff are completely, I just say yes a lot when they walk in and ask questions. So the reality is these people have got it. So anyway, that is sort of what's happening with me. I am not jumping ship. I have not left. I have not, I'm still the Pacific Northwest District Chair, so I'll be doing a lot of team communications, and we'll still be working on the a lot of the sort of outreachy stuff and communicating with teams, and quite frankly, I have my own team, and so I get to pay a lot more attention to them. So there you go. I just that's sort of the plan. Okay. And the last one is I'm just putting our information back up. So if you were looking for information, here are all of our email addresses. And I think I touched on everything. How about the rest of the panel? Did I miss anything?
I can't think of anything you missed.
And look at me, I'm really close to an hour, which is pretty impressive, I think. Okay, with that, as always, thank you so much for doing this for the kids. You know, that This is my 16th year, and I am still flabbergasted at the amount of impact that this program has on all of our students. And the only way that actually happens is all of you guys. And this is a completely volunteer-driven organization. Yeah, we've got a few staff people, but the reality is that we've got, like, between 12 and 15,000 kids across 2 states doing FIRST programs. And that is, most of the staff doesn't really interact with the teams. Our job is to support you, the volunteers. And so thanks again for doing this. I hope that you're getting as much out of this as we do. So, all right, everybody. With that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off, and we will hopefully see you all registering and filling out grant forms soon. Good night.